Guys, I want to thank the sponsors of the podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com, my friend Cody Nelson, the glassing guru, the optics authority. He's the optics manager at GoHunt.com. If you have any interest in buying optics or have any glassing questions, whether it be tripods, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, range finders, anything to do with glassing, give Cody a call, 702-847-8747. That's extension 2, or you can email him at optics@gohunt.com. You can also send him a text or call him on his cell phone at 602-399-3699. Guys, right now at GoHunt.com Insider, you can take advantage of the free trial. Go to GoHunt.com/JScott. You're going to be able to take advantage of a free trial of the Insider. GoHunt is always adding more value for their Insider members. They've now added real 3D maps as a part of Insider for no additional cost. What an incredible value. Very soon they're going to have their mobile app up as well. Go to GoHunt.com/JScott and sign up for a free trial. If you're already an Insider member, it's automatically part of your Insider membership, and you can just go to the Maps tab up at the top once you sign in as an Insider. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. That's the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. To find out more, you can go to KUIU.com, KUIU.com. They're a direct-to-consumer company. They sell everything off of the KUIU.com website. I also do a lot of question and answer on my Instagram where I'm answering questions about guys wanting to know about gear about KUIU, so tune into my Instagram. I want to thank KUIU for their sponsorship. I also want to thank Phoneskope.com. Use the JScott20 promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount on all orders. And I want to thank AllElk.com, home of the Bugle Mule. Use the JSO10 to save 10% on all orders. The Bugle Mule attaches to your bugle, and it's a great little carrier that holds 3 elk calls right there on your bugle tube, and I can't wait to use it this season. Again, thanks to all the sponsors of my podcast.
Okay, let me pause it real quick, just give you some context. You guys can watch it on my website there, the elk module. But right now, she's looking back in the timber. She's trying to see who's following her. I pan back. No, whatever's coming in the timber, that's not who I'm looking for. So she whips around, and her and the other cow and calf that are following her, they look back. They're looking across the road now, and this is where she's like, wait a minute, who the heck is across the road behind me? All right, perfect. Let me pause it right there. There again. Perfect.
I mean, that to me was partners for a long time with Steve Chappell. Love Steve. He was able to capture the same exact sound right during the rut, and we all said it's the estrus. It's the estrus scream, and you're not disagreeing with that.
No.
But what you're saying is that sound they make, it's more of a selfish sound that they can make any time of the year.
Yes.
But that absolutely during the rut, you hear that more, probably because they're wanting to get bred and they're wanting to get their way.
Well, if they cannot, that is low. Yeah, she could absolutely be doing that. And there's a very, very famous video on YouTube that somebody posted up there of a cow, literally point blank, who goes by this guy's camp. And the guy grabs his camera real quick and records it. This cow goes cruising through, and I mean, she's just meow, loud. If she is separated and not finding somebody and needs someone to either, respond vocally or show up and come to her, this is absolutely a vocalization she could fire away with. So yeah, if she needs to get bred and she's out there cruising country searching for a bull, absolutely she can do it. But the more important part of this, I think, for me is, and the reason why bulls get fired up about it is because of what it says. It's saying, dang it, give me a response. Somebody respond to me. When the bulls are like, okay, here we go, and I talk about why a bull might either physically show up to a situation or versus why he might bugle at a situation. So no, I don't criticize, and I love Steve too. And by the way, I'm sorry, I have never, ever heard anyone else make that vocalization with a mouth diaphragm as good as Steve.
He's unbelievable.
It's scary good. I mean, you can sit there and stare him in the face and watch him do it, and you're like, do that again. I mean, it's incredible. He is so good with it. So no, if you want to call it the estrus mew, estrus scream, go for it. That's fine. Just understand it does not have anything to do with estrus. It just has everything to do with a cow searching. Okay? But you're absolutely right. There's a great example. Just wow, perfect vocalization example, and here we are, end of July.
Yeah.
All right, and you heard that just that's kind of what I coined. And again, when I talk about certain vocalizations, I'm not saying that that's the end all be all, that write it in the Bible, gospel, that's what it is. I just talk about some of the vocalizations just so we can have a frame of reference. You will hear cows do that, and that's what I ended up talking about, a demanding mew. You'll hear cows will do this. I mean, it's just a basic contact mew, but they put a little force, just a punch. They punch it, and you'll hear that after, whether it's a lost mew, whether it's an assembly mew, it will come at, usually it's going to come after something that they just said, and it's like a punctuation mark on whatever, where are you? Dang it. Or come to me now, and it's a perfect example right there. She gives those selfish mews and then throws that little demanding in there. Let it go a little bit longer. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, lost mew, lost mew, and then demanding, where are you? Dang it, give me a response. But, I mean, you're borderline, some of those frustrated whines right there, I mean, those are borderline bugles again. But she's standing in this wide open meadow, I mean, literally wide open meadow, standing there looking around. She's looking in the timber. She's looking across the road. She is searching. So keep that in mind if you want to do this type of vocalization. People talk about, and this is why we entitled this, excited cow calling. You hear people talk about all the time. Oh, I want to do excited cow calling. I want to build that excitement. Okay. Well, what does that mean? Well, most of the time people are just, I'm just going to throw out a whole bunch of different cow cow sounds. Well, again, passive versus targeted, chirps and mews. If you're just doing chirps and mews, they carry an entirely different connotation and a different visual image than, say, lost mews, whines, and stuff like this, to where if you want to sound excited, if you want to do excited cow calling, if you want to get aggressive with your cow calling, okay, do it. But this is the direction that you need to go in order to make it realistic and actually have the success that you want to follow.
Good point.
Okay, so she did that little vocalization sequence, and now she's just going to head out. She's going to catch up with the ones that kept on going down through the meadow in front of her. But meanwhile, she's just staring behind her, constantly flipping around, looking behind her, waiting for someone.
Do you think it's her calf?
I think at the end of this, I think it's a calf. I think it's her calf. Let me push pause. And the reason why I say that is because now she's vocalizing. She's catching a glimpse of other elk that are walking behind us. They're on the other side of the road, down over this little ditch. So all you can see is their heads, okay? And she sees them moving, and she's vocalizing. The reason why I think it's her calf in here in a little bit, A, the intensity level is just too high. Dang it, she's desperate. The other thing is, at the end, it fades out. I just cut it because there's just a whole other pile of footage to go along with it. But she ends up catching up with the rest of the group. She vocalizes. A calf shows up, and she kind of, oh, okay, here you are. She stops vocalizing, settles down. The calf approaches her, and then she realizes, wait, you're not the one that I'm looking for. And then she just continues on. So every time a calf comes near her, she settles down and she eagerly goes over there and scent checks it. So I really do think, based on all the context, all the contextual clues that she gives for this sequence, and when I was there, she was trying to figure out where her calf was. Now, the interesting thing that I find is, why the heck didn't the calf show up? I mean, did the calf get separated on the other side of the road, or did something lunch this calf? Who knows? But here, let me back it up and we'll play that little section again. Perfect. I mean, I'm sorry, I geek out on this stuff. This is what I love. But yeah, you hear that selfish mew, demanding you. Just, where are you? Where? Dang it. And then she turns, walks off. And the other thing, too, that's cool about this, if people listen to it, and I'll even criticize myself and maybe even what you and I have talked about in the past. We talk about all the time, you want your cow sounds to be crisp and clear. The way she's vocalizing and the way her vocal signature is, I think if you wanted to match this cow, I think you have to do all your cow calls through a tube. She's got that tubish, if that's a word, tubish quality to it,
Yeah, I hear that too, and thinking of how I can mimic that. And the one thing that I just think in the mechanics of how I cow call, and I've talked about it a lot, is in my mind at the end, she's opening her mouth and she's probably not, but I think the only way that I can make that sound is dropping that lower jaw, and I see so many people cow calling and they close their lips at the end, and it makes this like eel sound, like what the old diaphragm instructions used to say, and it's like, no, dang it, you probably did the worst service to trying to do a good thing, and actually probably totally destroyed people's cow calling. And I think you've got to get that jaw open and and throw that voice into it, and for sure. I mean, it's just incredible sound, and that's the whole purpose of these Real Elk Sounds episodes. For me, selfishly, I like you said, geek out on this stuff, and I try and listen to as many cows as I can and have as many sounds in my arsenal as I can, because I think the more that you do, the more you have to play with. And I think if your cow calling is one dimensional and basically one sound, that's not going to work in a lot of situations.
Yeah, especially if you're working the same group over and over and over and over again. Some of us that are hunting, some of these over-the-counter areas, we really don't have the luxury of bouncing from one herd to the next herd to the next herd to the next herd to the next herd. We might get ourselves in a valley and find out there's one bull with 6 cows, and that's it. That's what we've got in our little area, and we need to work them. Well, all right, we might end up working these guys multiple times. Well, if you keep coming in there, the one joke in the industry, people criticize the Primos Hoochie Mama. Well, the reality is there's some cows out there that sound just like a Hoochie Mama. The Hoochie Mama is a very accurate sounding cow call. The problem with it is because it's mechanical, it does the exact same sound every single time. And people are like, well, I can tell that's a Hoochie Mama. Well, yeah, because it doesn't change. There's nothing dynamic about it. There's really nothing organic about it. It's just this mechanical sound. Well, it's accurate, but it's always the same. And if you listen,
monotonous.
Yeah, it's monotonous. And it doesn't help when people just walk through the timber and just keep pushing it. But
I'll tell you what, though, that call at times can work unbelievable.
Oh yeah, yes, I always have one it's a great tool. But if you're gonna go in and you're gonna work a group over and over again, this is where you must. Heck, your series on all the different cow calls you've been testing is gonna probably be huge, because you must. I talk about this in the elk module. You must pick something that is going to give you a different vocal signature. I talk about the bell-shaped curve. I talk about the deep pitches. I talk about the bird-like sound. You've got to pick something that is going to diversify the vocal signatures that you can do. And just running a mouth diaphragm is not it, because your mouth engages a mouth diaphragm, and a diaphragm is a mechanical piece of equipment that you're going to have some limitations on that as well. So different mouth diaphragms built with different reed thickness, different reed stretches, open reed versus closed. We talk about the hyperlip. I always talk about the hyperlip double with the tone converter. There is nothing. I'm sorry. We can talk till we're blue in the face. Maybe the elk reel call. Now I might take this step back. Elk reel calls. The deeper pitch sounding ones do pretty darn good with an assembly mu. But as of right now, nothing compares with a hyperlip double with the tone converter attached for those mature cow sound, those mature assembly mus. Nothing touches it. But then again, there's other times I don't want that tone converter on there. And Jay, you alluded to it. You said open your mouth. Yeah, a cow can vocalize one of two ways. She can close her mouth and send all the sound out through her nasal cavity, or she can open her mouth. This cow is opening her mouth and she's sending everything out of her throat. You can see her stretch her head and neck out. She's sending it all through her throat, her nasal cavity, mouth. She is as loud as she can get. Bro! But they can do it either one of two ways. Open their mouth or keep their mouth closed and send it through their nasal cavity. The Primos tone converter simulates what it sounds like when they keep their mouth closed. Essentially, that's what it is. So all of those things, all those different calls can give you a different vocal signature, which makes you sound like a completely different animal, which then allows you to do, work the same group over and over and over again without, basically putting them on alert that something's not right. In this case, again, to round it back out, to match her, I think you do. You've got to use a mouth diaphragm, and I think you've got to put it right through a bugle tube.
Yep. Let's hear the rest of the clip.
All right. I'll jump.
Because I think she bugles several more times.
Well, she gets excited. I'll jump it forward here, right here. And like you said, all those were lost mus, and she just flat opens that mouth up. She even has her tongue sticking out. She just, and again, when I say a tube, if you think about the physics or I guess the physics of it, but the biology of it, if you watch her, what she effectively does is she stretches her neck out, which straightens that esophagus out. She sticks her tongue out, which opens up the back of her throat, and she flares her nostrils. She just created a sound chamber in her mouth and in her nasal cavity that's just going to amplify that sound it's awesome.
I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say that those last 3 calls right there, that if the listeners could master that in my idea of a location, walking down a ridge, locating elk, getting bulls to bugle, getting other elk to respond, in my mind, that's the call. I'm curious what your thought is.
That's right.
I think that could be even better than bugling at times if you could hit that 3-note, real intense sound that you just heard.
Absolutely. Let me play it again, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
Five times.
She's awesome. She's awesome.
I'd love to have her in my pocket
Oh,
and
my
just be
God.
like, touch her on the head when I want her to make that sound.
For me, I agree. I mean, all those are Lost Muse. I do. If I'm going to use cow vocalizations, I talk about it in the passive strategy. You can watch me do it. I don't know how many times over and over again in the strategies and actions section on the module. Make vocal contact with that Lost Muse. Open up that channel of, get a response. Open up that channel of communication, and then depending on at that point whether I want to continue with Lost Muse or whether I switch right over to Assembly Muse or whatever. But that right there is what opens that line of communication. That is asking, boom, where are you? Give me a response. Okay. Again, we talk about all sorts of stuff on whether it's physical or whether it's audible, whatever. But I might not jump into this level of intensity right off the bat. However, I do not shy away from it. Last year, when you and I were down in Arizona, there was that couple situations where we were in some real open habitats, and those elk were way off in the distance. This is one of the things, I think we touched on it before for the listener. Jay, if you never get a chance to hunt with Jay or watch it, Jay is a master at sitting behind glass. Your binoculars and your spotting scope, I don't know how, you've got the patience of a saint. I mean, he can just sit there for hours and pick apart every nook and cranny and like, oh, there's an antler tip. Where me, I'm like, I physically start shaking. I'm like, I got to get down there. I need to weasel them out. I need to engage. Okay. So all these elk are scattered out in front of us, and we're trying to lay eyeballs on them and trying to pick the best bull out of the group. And there's a whole pile of elk way out there that we just can't see. And I'm like, all right, I've had enough. I'm gonna start calling. I'm gonna get these guys excited. I'm gonna start pulling them out of the timber so we can see them. And so, yeah, I flat out start doing this as loud as I can. I just start ripping it, and we start pulling bulls out of the timber. What, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile? I think we were sitting there. I think one of them was pushing a mile away. Put him in our lap, but because we used vocalizations like this, obviously knowing what I was saying and why I was saying it and putting them together in a logical manner. But
wait, what did you just say?
What's that? But
it's important to actually know what you're saying.
It's my opinion, man. But it was. I mean, I was calling as absolutely as loud as I physically could and just got them things ripped up to where they were like, okay, fine, we're going to step out and take a look at what the heck is going on. And we pulled bulls out of the timber and we're able to go from one to the next and nope. Oh, that's a good one. Now, okay. And we were able to start inventorying them. But it's because I was able to call like she is right now. Yeah, she's standing there looking around, starts walking. No, there you go. I mean, we could talk about that if you wanted. They're just that. And that's when she sees me standing there and she's like, oh crap. And then she spooks. All right, so let me play her again because we'll kind of round this little sequence out here a minute. But I want to talk about context. So let me play that last section. All right, again, I talk about video all the time. Let me hit pause. Yeah, you don't really have a good appreciation about it until you get to sit there and watch their body language. And I mean, her head is as high as it can go. Her ears are as forward as they can go. She is desperately looking, but here's the thing, and nothing shows up. Whatever she's looking for does not show up. And so now she's been left behind. The rest of the group has moved off. They're almost 100 yards in front of her, in starting to get into some a little bit more broken timber. So at this point, she turns and she starts. Okay, so a little frustration there. Now she sees the group leaving her. All right, I got to start making up. I got to catch up. All right, you hear those. She kind of runs away. She finally notices that I'm standing there looking at her. But you could hear as she turns and starts walking off, just that. That right there, I think, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of something. I think for me, when I make up, if I'm setting up and I'm calling, and it's not working, or I need to move, and I need to change position, or I need to get closer, or whatever. I need to go from where I just was to somewhere else. A lot of times I will throw those little subtle sounds in just like that. And I'm telling you, I really do believe there are a lot of times that little bit of realism is what ends up turning the next time. When I set up the next time, that's when usually things happen. I think that little bit of realism of just that kind of frustration of just as I'm walking, and I'm doing it as I'm walking. I pick the tripod up, or I grab my bow and I start walking. I'm snapping on a twig. I'll snap that branch as I'm traveling. I'm going to make it sound like I'm walking, and I will do that. Just most hunters don't do that. Number one. Most of the time, it's going to be a real elk. So even if that animal that I'm calling to is down the hill, or in front of me 100 yards or whatever, they hear that. That little tiny bit of realism, I think, sometimes is all that it takes to really seal the deal, and make that next setup that much more effective.
Awesome stuff there, Mr. Chris.
All right. Well, then well, I tell you what, we'll just skip ahead. I'll round out now because she catches up with the group. She goes into the timber. There's one more little flurry. I think it's good. We'll round it out, and she'll end up on that Selfish Mew, and we'll kind of talk and see where we want to go. Stuff crashing through the timber. And there we go. Okay, you can hear the branches breaking, the limbs breaking. The cool thing about that, too, is, again, we're talking about trying to get better with your calling. If you heard her there, high, low, medium, higher, low, it's not the same monotone mew every single time, even though they're all lost mews. They had the same rough duration. There's inflection there. High, low, medium, just And then she turns, she hears some snap and pop in the timber behind her. She whips around, ears forward, and that Selfish Mew again. Where are you? Who is it? Who is it? So all of these things, that's why I wanted, when we were talking about doing another episode, I was like, dude, we've got to talk about this one. Because there's so much. If you want to really master your cow calling, she's the one that you want to try to be like.
For sure. I mean, I think Yeah, I mean, if you could basically mimic those sounds and incorporate them into your calling with that kind of intensity and that different, like you say, high, low, not monotone, not the same call. I mean, that just makes you a better caller. And it's amazing how when you really start breaking down these sounds, how much they all have their own signature, like you say, and they all sound a little different. But it's amazing. You could throw this elk from Colorado, throw her right into Arizona, and she'd immediately be, speaking the language with the elk in Arizona. So it's not like it's, elk or elk, like Michael Park says. Yeah. But it's interesting to listen to all their different real sounds, the vocalizations that each one of them make, and then try and incorporate that into, my own calling. And that's where I've managed over the years to get better and better and better, is to, hear these types of sounds. And I think that's why I felt it was so important that you and I do this series. There's more to come. And I think that's why there's so much value in the Rowe Hunting Resources elk module, because not only do you get to hear it, but you get to see it.
Yeah.
And, I think that's huge, being able to know when to use those certain calls and know what type of body language to look for when you're looking through your binos and you see certain things that the elk are doing, and then you hear it. You're able to go, oh, I know what she's doing.
Well, and not only that, and yeah, you nailed it. I mean, that's why we have so many, repeat subscribers every year. Folks come back and resubscribe because A, we're always building on the library of stuff that's in there, but B, it's just you want to be able to practice. You want to be able to keep hearing these things. Will Primos said it the best. I mean, it's hard for people that don't live with elk every day to really master something that they never hardly ever hear. And so the best things you can do is try to listen to them and watch them as much as you can. Well, now with video and I mean, heck, this sequence here, I got a new camera. It was recorded in 4K. So if someone's got a 8-foot monitor, 4K TV screen or whatever, this thing looks awesome. But I mean, you get to watch it, you get to see it, you get to hear it, you get to practice it. But yes, you get better at it. But and not only in like the gallery footage, all that stuff, you watch them and you get to understand what they're doing, and you can decipher what's happening and then act accordingly. But the other flip side of this is, if you're going to vocalize, now again, let me just preface this whole thing with this sequence that we're talking about. This is excited cow calling. Again, this is not, I don't jump into this level of vocalization right off the bat. This is what I might build up to if I'm in a situation like her where I need to command the attention. I need to pull the attention to me. I need to, either elicit a response or get someone to show up. If I have to build my intensity, this is what I'm going to probably end up doing. However, the important thing that the video can allow you to do is actually see what she is doing. And in this case, if I am going to reproduce this type of calling, this type of communication, then I better darn well understand that I am simulating a cow that is up on her feet. She is out in the open. She is moving. She's dynamic. This isn't a situation where this cow is tucked behind this one little tree and hiding there and just standing like a stone. So if I'm going to reproduce this type of vocalization or this type of communication sequence, I have to understand that any bull that's responding, or it doesn't matter if it's a cow or bull or whatever, any other elk that is going to come into my setup is going to be expecting to see something like this. So this is where your setup has to be crucial. You have to have some sort of cover behind you that they cannot see through, do you have to be maybe a little bench that, that you're simulating that sound coming over that bench to where they can't see past that bench without walking up to that, what I talk about all the time, the doorway? Okay, your setups have to be crucial. Down where, you and I have been down in Arizona, some of that where you've got that pinyon juniper country, it's perfectly made for this because it's the habitat is so broken up, they can't see more than 30 yards, 50 yards in some places. They have to continue to come through and search. But if you're a type of person that's, depending on where you're hunting, if you're in an open aspen stand, you're going to need to be creative on where you set up, because if it's too open, those animals are going to respond. They're going to come in and they're going to lock up 80, 100, 150, 200 yards away. And they're going to stand there and they're going to wait, because what you're saying, how you're saying it, and what you want all suggest that you are mobile, you're animated, you are excited. And so if they even make a partial distance, if they cut off any of that range, it's logical that you, if you were a true cow, would make up that other distance. So this is where setup is key. And you get to understand that if you watch what's going on with the video. Absolutely.
Chris, I want to give you a chance to let people know about the elk module, how they can get on the elk module. I mean, it's so expensive. It's $500 or $600, I think. I think actually it's $20.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing about it. We try to make it to where it's economical.
It's thousands of dollars of value for $20 if you use the J Scott promo code. I'll let you walk through how people can find you. And I get feedback all the time from my listeners, guys that just love the elk module at Row Hunting Resources. So I feel like I can shout it, get out on the rooftops and shout this out, because I know what kind of value it has and I know what's on there, and I get feedback all the time from listeners of how great it is. And take it away, Chris.
Well, I do. I appreciate that, man. I mean, we kind of have a similar philosophy on a lot of things, and like you said, you kind of geek out on this stuff too. So I mean, if folks are listening to this and they enjoy this stuff and they're passionate about elk and calling elk and they want to learn more, that's what it's about. I do. I love this stuff. If anything that I do, I really want to understand why I'm doing it. And I spend a lot of time focusing on the why things happen. And I think if you understand why things happen, it makes you, or it gives you the ability to be more flexible in how to adjust when they don't necessarily happen exactly the way you wanted them to. If you understand why things are happening, you're a lot more flexible, and I think it translates into being a lot more successful. So yeah, we put everything online, just www.rowhuntingresources.com, ROE huntingresources.com, and you can sign up for we've got two different levels. You got the elk module, it's 3 months, just the elk, that it will open up just the elk, and it's open for 3 months. Normally it's $25, and with the J Scott podcast promo code, it's $20. Or you can do the full year annual subscription, gives you 12 months unlimited access to it, and that's usually $50. Or again, it's 20% off with the J Scott podcast, so it ends up being $40. I mean, goodness gracious, it's not even, it's cheaper than a pack of broadheads. So,
and that also gives you the ability to go on the elk forum with the other Row Hunting Resources members, and have questions answered, and basically have a direct line to Chris to ask him anything you want, and ask other members and hear some of the feedback that they have. And I've been a Row Hunting Resources member for years. And, it's something of great value to me. And yeah, I mean, you say I geek out on this stuff, but honestly, I just want to get better and strive to understand and learn. And any little thing that I can do to make myself better, I want to do. And then you've got, with all of the different videos and all of the video library and gallery that you have, it's mind blowing. So as always, I love having you on. The listeners love having you on, and can't wait for our next episode of Real Elk Sounds. And I just really appreciate all that you bring to the table with this series.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I enjoy it. So, yeah, let's do another one.
That sounds awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your time here with us today. And I just can't wait. Elk season's around the corner, and our favorite time of year, the fall season. So until next time, buddy, God bless. All right.
All right, you too. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.